back to Liquid Lunch. It's time for the magnetic marketing moment with your marketing magnet, Jeanette Burke.
Yes, and we're going to be talking now about environmental marketing, how green it is. So, if your customers are environmentally concerned, then showing them that you have an environmental concern can only mean good things for you. It'll help you to attract more customers and also up your bottom line. But it will only do that if you put into your marketing, green marketing or environmental marketing practices, 3 specific things to make that marketing campaign
Now, wait a
work.
sec. Before you get into this, Jeanette, I gotta
Yes.
I don't get it. Like,
Good, I'm glad. Goodbye. Ask me some bloody questions, so I don't have to do everything myself, man.
well, that's what I'm here for, Jeanette.
Okay.
But what I don't get is, how come green and environmental stuff has grown so much in popularity?
Okay, so let's start there, and I'll tell you it has. It is now $26.6 million green incentives in green marketing. And that's for organic. And non-organic is $1.8 billion in marketing revenue. And the reason it's become that way is because on the 21st century corporate agenda was environmental concerns became part of the corporate agenda and corporate governance. And so companies started to adapt business policies that were geared towards saving the environment and being more friendly towards the environment. And they did it largely because of government legislation. And then when they started to see incentive for it, such as savings in costs, transportation costs, inventory costs, production costs, labor, all your regular operational costs, they then saw an incentive for it. So you could say that the government was behind it first, then they drove business. But also what happened is you have a large segment of the population who are consumers that are moving away from traditional consumption, which is traditional marketing is based on consumption and materialism. They're moving away from that. So in order to ingrain them and make them part of your marketing, or make your marketing resonate with them and make them your customers, is to show them that you actually care about the environment too, because that's their agenda.
Because the people have become concerned
More,
about the environment.
yes.
So when they see a company that shares that concern and is doing stuff, selling products, services,
Yes.
policies to help the environment, then people resonate with that, and that's going to attract them to those companies, right?
Correct. So when we look at environmental marketing, you can look at it almost as a win-win perspective for all parties involved, right? The government has a responsibility, as do businesses, to reduce toxins and other environmental concerns. And people want that too, because toxins aren't good for the environment, nor are they good for us. I mean, look,
Oh my goodness.
disease is up.
You should have
right?
been here last week, Jeanette. We got scared to death by a fellow from Denver who was talking about toxins in the environment.
But so we can see why it's become a hot topic, because of it's all win-win, right? A lot of people want to preserve the environment,
Right.
for a lot of reasons, for our generation, for future generations.
Yeah.
Business has an incentive, and the
Yeah.
thing is, we always think that big business or corporate governance is really restricted to corporations. It's not. It's restricted to all businesses. And there's a lot of good reason to want to do this because of the tremendous cost savings in all that I pointed out: transportation and inventory,
Right.
labor.
Yeah, what's
all these costs that when you reduce on yourself will not only up your bottom line, but you can pass those savings on to the consumer and also be the good guy because you're showing that you care.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned about 3 components.
Yes.
That,
to make it effective,
to make
your green marketing effective, it has to satisfy 3 components.
What are those components?
Well, the first one is you have to be authentic. And by this I mean you must practice what you preach. So if you really are concerned about the environment and you start taking on environmental policies in your business practices, you have to communicate those policies clearly and concisely, and you have to follow them. You have to lead by example. So, for example, if you choose to only use eco-friendly paper or reproduce on letterhead that is biodegradable, let's say, or use your business cards on only biodegradable paper, and you make these conscious choices about it, you have to follow through. So let's say you start there, or let's say you start with, a recycle program, or anything that wherever you start, you have to follow through. You have to be authentic, so that you're believable, right? Because it's easy to say I want to be environmentally friendly, but actions are really what speaks the words.
All right. So okay. So
you have
be
to
authentic.
Be consistent with it in all areas of your marketing once you decide to be environmentally friendly.
Are there two other components?
There are two other components. You have to educate your prospects about why you're doing this, so they understand why it's significant and important to you, or otherwise you leave them with the impression of, so what, who cares? Why are you doing this? There's a cause here. And it really is about getting them involved in the cause and getting them to support it, and understanding that in so doing it, there's a tremendous benefit to them too. Not just because they're saving the planet, not just because they're not throwing another piece of plastic into a landfill, which takes I don't know how many years to become
biodegradable.
Yeah. Once you start these things, you have to they have to know why you're doing it. You have to support it with a cause.
All right.
There has to be meaning behind it. So, for example, whether you've chosen to not pass out brochures because it's taking paper, and a lot of people throw out brochures and flyers. So you've now made a stance that you're only going to do flyers, e-notices, e-zines, whatever, and only do it that way because that's your stance. Then you tell your customers why that is, and why you want them to join in on that.
Fantastic. You do that, don't you?
I do that, and actually I have to say that I have become very concerned about the environment, and I'm more and more interested in adopting environmental policies into my business practices, because I believe that I'm dealing a lot with women, and women from the onset of the feminist movement have always been very concerned with preserving the environment, and I am too, also because of the toxins and the illnesses and what have you. So
yes.
For me, I've done a lot of things to incorporate environmental into my business practices, and I'm going to be doing a lot more.
Yeah.
Because of that.
Okay, what's the third component?
The third component is making sure that your participants participate in your campaign.
How do you do that?
How do you do that? Well, first you have to decide which green aspect are you going to go with. So maybe it's brochures, maybe it's moving your live events to the webinar so that you can save on fuel and energy costs as well. Maybe it's like I said, using biodegradable materials, not passing out brochures or flyers, but instead directing people to a website, or sending e-voices rather than paper traditional invoice. Do it by e-voice. Once you've decided what your campaign's going to be, then you've got to get your participants participating in it with you. So what we've seen typically is in grocery stores, for example, getting rid of the plastic bag and having these new bio energy bags.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about that? I don't know if the same thing's happening to you.
Is that more people are
every
asking
time
for
you go
plastic?
to the store, you forget your perma bag,
No,
and then
no,
you
no.
get a huge collection of these canvas perma bags that you don't know what to do with.
Okay, so about that, I actually use mine every single week, and the reason that I do that is I have them in the car, so I know that when I go grocery shopping, it's right there.
Yeah.
And it astonishes me too. Every week in line, I see how many people are using them, but I
Yeah.
also see a lot of people still asking for plastic
I am
bags.
going to. You know what? You're making me change my pretzels.
Well, good. I love having an impact on you. And others too, right? But I'm serious. You put these three things in place, and that's where you see success in a green marketing campaign. And that's where you see your revenues coming up, and where you're attracting more people who believe in this type of thing. You know, and I'll have to tell you, a lot of companies now, even marketing companies, are going strictly in this green marketing mentality, creating companies that will teach you green marketing. And I mean, I have that too. I have that as part of my coaching. Environmentally friendly ideas, green marketing, go green.
Well, what are some of these things that businesses can do to be
Well,
environmentally
I mentioned
friendly?
a few of them already. Like, you take a stance and say, I'm never going to pass out a brochure again
Right.
because I don't believe in cutting down trees and wasting paper, when statistics show that, you know, most of these things are dumped in the garbage. Or if you are going to continue to do them, you're only going to do it on reusable paper or biodegradable paper. You can get that. You can ask for that. You know, you can take a stance on a lot of things. You know, and again, a lot of it could be internet oriented, and understand that there's a lot of benefit to this. You save time, you save money, you save the environment,
Yeah.
you save costs,
Uh-huh.
a lot of cost, and everybody wins.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of reason to do it.
Okay. So how much, like, assuming a business follows through on some of these strategies and things you're talking about, how much can a business gain by going green?
Well, I would say that they can gain a lot when you take the fact that traditional marketing is based on the 4 Ps, right?
Product, price,
placement,
and
and promotion.
promotion. Yeah.
Right? When you take those 4 Ps and you transcend that to environmental marketing, and you take all the costs out, right? Because placement can be on the internet, you can reach globally, right?
The long tail.
It's a lot of money you're cutting off your bottom line, right? I would say that you could save between 40 and 50% in your overall cost structures and your marketing cost structures just by going green. So that's why I called this segment Environmental Marketing, How Green It Is. It is very green. And that's why more and more companies are getting on board with it. And it's not just because the government is legislating it or because they want to, you know, be eco-friendly because they know their customers are. It's because there's advantages on every side of the coin. It's truly win-win.
You know what's really great about it is that what's starting to happen is, because I think we're moving from a mindset where we think that business goals and environmental goals are opposed to each other. But what you're saying is that you can make business goals and environmental goals congruent with one another.
Yes. And that's exactly what I'm saying. And in the course of doing that, you're saving yourself a lot of money, but you're also doing great for the world and the environment. I mean, you know, we are suffering. We see the effects every single day. It's in the news of all these things that, you know, pollution and toxicity and all the things that have destroyed the ecosystems, that have destroyed the rainforest. We see that. We see the devastation, and now we're suffering with the consequences. But the fact of the matter is, these issues are not new issues. They've been on the table for over 20 years.
More than that.
More than that. But for many years, businesses were not paying heed.
No.
Particularly like big corporations like builders, for example. The greed was more important. The building was more important. But now that the ecosystem is been destroyed, and we're seeing, you know, climatic factors and other factors of pollution that are leading to major disease, which is impacting our ability to work, our ability to earn money, suddenly we can all see the light. And now we want to get on board with all this stuff.
Absolutely. Okay. Jeanette.
Better late than never is what I say.
Well, you know, and but you got to do it before October 28th. Right?
I guess. I mean, I think do it now. Do it today. Start today.
Start today.
But more importantly, when you decide to do it, whatever you decide to do, you've got to let your prospects know, and you've got to get them participating. So if in my case, if I say I'm never going to pass out another paper brochure, from now on, if you want that type of information from me, you're going to get it from my website or from my e-zine or from my announcements. Will you join my mailing list to make sure that you get this information from me and help me to stop wasting paper and the unnecessary cutting down of trees?
So it's a great way to get people to take action.
It's a cause.
And
yeah.
one of the, so, you know, you can start today, take a step, take any step, take a great first step would be to get in touch with you, right, Jeanette?
Yes.
And how do people do that?
Help and initiate these things into your marketing campaign. How to get in touch with me so I can coach you through it?
Yeah.
You can call me. 905-882-6893 is my number, and you can visit my website at www.yourmarketingmagnet.com. And I'd love to help you implement green strategies into your marketing mix, because I really believe it's very important, and it's getting more important every single day. And actually, I'd like to leave our viewers with one last comment, which is to find out more about how important green marketing is becoming. There's a book written by Jacqueline A. Ottman, and it's called The New Rules of Green Marketing, and it's really an impressive book. And it'll give you some ideas, more ideas than what I suggested, although I did suggest quite a few things. And it's easier and easier every day to implement these things. Social media, internet, it's made it much easier. But I mean, a specific green marketing campaign we can conceptualize and help you implement. And the main thing is getting it out so people understand, because I also understand that doing this will give you a distinction and possibly a unique niche, which will only help to make you stand out. So how can that be harmful in your marketing, right?
Exactly.
Right.
And if you're lucky, you just might win a Nobel Prize. Maybe.
That may be.
It's possible. Right?
Little steps, baby steps,
Baby
right?
steps.
But let me help you start somewhere, and hopefully, I'd like check out my coaching on my programs on my website. Yeah. I have different options.
Right, and people can sign up for your green e-newsletter.
You can, right? At www.yourmarketingmagnet.com. There's right on the homepage. Yep. Sign up for the tips that I give you and you can also download my book, which is available as on internet. You sign up, you get the link.
Fantastic.
And that's a choice I made too. I chose not to print a book, but rather have it as a download on my internet site, and I give it away for free. And there's 67 plus ways to promote your business in that book.
Fantastic, Jeanette.
Okay.
Well, thank you for doing this as always.
Thank you.
Once a month, the Magnetic Marketing Moment. Mm-hmm. And we're going to take a little break now, play some Steve Bell, come back with Bruce Bell, who's here from the Bulletin, Toronto historian, talk about the old days here in Toronto as Liquid Lunch returns in a couple of minutes right here on thatchannel.com.